Hey everyone, it's Barbara Hayward here from the Old Girls Spiritual Stuff YouTube channel and the Old Girls Spiritual Stuff Facebook page, and now the Old Girl Spiritualstuff.com, my new webpage. Before I introduce our amazing guest today, and I truly mean, anyway, we'll talk about that in a second. I need to ask you, please subscribe. Please subscribe, like, and comment. But the more likes you put up, apparently I've heard that the analytics and everything else goes a little bit crazy in the background. So that would be awesome if you could do that. Today I'm interviewing, or I'm not really going to interview Jennifer today. We're just going to have a chat. Get together and have a conversation about a subject that I absolutely adore speaking about inside and out. And it is a subject I don't believe that we've tapped into yet. Now, Jennifer Rogers is from Oklahoma in America. And we were just talking off tape that her accent just does my heart in. And I think at some stage I've had a past life in Oklahoma or around that area. Um, so I have known Jennifer now for a little while, and I'm looking at maybe a year. And there is the first time I met her over, obviously Zoom, there is something incredibly special about her. She's got an energy, an aura, whatever you like to call it, that is from the eons. And she may be residing in 2025 and onwards, but her soul, her knowledge, her base is from the eons. And I picked that up the very moment I met her. And it's been an absolute pleasure to get to know Jennifer a lot better. And so, Jennifer, today, welcome. Welcome into our conversation. And thank you so much for honoring all of us out there with your presence, your deep knowledge, and just your amazingness, your sassiness too. I will tell you, she's a bit sassy. As you know, I do like that. And so just welcome to this platform.
Thank you, Barb. Thank you for opening this space for me to join you. And one day we will be together outside of this Zoom. And what
Abs-
a magical day that will be.
That now you're making me cry. um, thank you. Oh, that has really touched me. Um, if you, I will a little bit of housework, housekeeping, which I've done, but I need to explain that those three lights up there, they're not spaceships. They could be, but they're not. As you all know, I live in a house bus, and there's not much space between the outdoors and the inside, and that happens to be a reflection of the lights inside. And the other thing, it's very cold where we are today, and we put the potbelly stove on. So if you see some smoke going over that way, that's where the smoke is coming from. So just getting that out of the way. Now, off camera, we were having a conversation that I just could talk about for hours, and apparently you can too. So this may be going on for a little bit, and it's under the title and the heading of manifestation, the law of attraction, the law of um, duality, the law of reciprocity. I can't say it. You know what I mean.
Can't say that word either. I know what you mean.
There's probably half a dozen words in all my life I've never been able to say properly. I have no idea. The brain goes, oh, I don't think so. It's a bit hard for me. And it just lets me waffle on. But manifestation, I think the people may have the wrong idea about what it actually is. The law of attraction, out of that is the manifestation. And what I would like to say here, and maybe to lead you into a conversation, the law of attraction is not about attracting good things. The law of attraction is about attracting everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it all comes from our thinking. Um, from our thinking, it becomes so. So, would you like to maybe start there and give us your awareness or your information that you've got?
Absolutely. And I love that you share that it begins with thought, because we talk about being intentional with our thoughts, being intentional with our words. And so if you have that thought that I woke up late this morning, this day has gone to shit, like everything's just rolling. Well, that's how we're kicking off, and that's how we're setting our vibe, our tone, our energy for the day, because we've all felt it before.
Yeah.
We- We've walked into a room and you can feel in that room where the energy lies. Well, if you've got a room full of people who have all woke up on the wrong side of the bed, what are the thoughts and what are the intentions that they've brought into that energetic field? And manifestation, law of attraction, the duality, the reciprocity, maybe that's how we say it. Maybe, maybe that's how that works when we're looking at it. Because if I get up in the morning and I'm frustrated that I woke up late, what if I change that simple thought? There was an accident on the way to work. And because I was late, I was not involved in that. Because I was late, I got to spend a few extra minutes with my spouse or my child before they left for their day. So, what is the intent that I'm setting? And is it easy to be positive and think this way all the time? Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not. And I would never ask somebody to do that, because if you have that feeling coming up and you suppress it, and oh, I'm just going to be positive about it, you're creating a false intent as well.
And,
And
and not
so,
only that, but it simmers underneath, doesn't it? That energy simmers, even though it looks good on and you've got the smile and you're saying the right words, that is not what's going on underneath. And the universe obviously doesn't just hear your words, it hears your vibration of those words.
feels it. It feels it. You use the word eons when you were introducing me. When we're talking about feeling, there's many times, and Barb, I'm sure you've done this over the years and shared this with your clients and your viewers and listeners. We talk about grounding
Yeah.
and connecting back to the earth's ions. Well, we're feeling those vibrations. And so we just want to get back to homeostasis. We want to get back to that calm, that centered peace. I recognize that I woke up late if that was what happened. But you know what? I still have a place that I am going today. I still have an impact that I'm going to make. And I'm going to show up and I'm going to give it my best. I'm going to do my best.
Even if your best is not good, it's still your best,
Still my best.
you know?
And it doesn't
And
have to be my all. Why would I
yeah,
give my all to one thing and then leave nothing left for the day?
wow, that is profound. And it's
Just give,
perfectly true.
yes,
Because if you give your all, we're not designed to give it all day. Just give the best that we have. And if the best isn't up to others' power, the power of others, that's okay. It's the best that we have.
best I have.
And in that best, if we then recognize that and say, I'm really proud of myself today, I did the absolute best I could, then you are manifesting more of the best.
And you're speaking right into my intentions. So even last night during the new moon ceremony, I wrote my intentions out, did a little burning ceremony. But one thing that I always ask, and I ask this for my clients as well, because when we want something for someone, we always want the absolute and utmost magnificent package for them. But when we ask it for ourselves, we are willing to water that down. Why do we do that? We deserve just as much as what we're going to give to someone else. So when doing my intentions for myself, my clients, my friends, anybody, somebody asks for prayers, somebody asks for good wells or wishes, this is what's going on. I always end mine with, we ask for this and better.
No, that is so funny because I've been doing the law of attraction before it became the law of attraction. And so I've been in this awareness for 40 plus years. My teacher showed me it, and she introduced me to Catherine Ponder and Florence Scovel Shing, which are writers, women writers of the 60s. And that's where my journey began. And I've always, this or better, Lord, this or better. And that is because we don't know what's more for us. What out there could be a lot more. So if we say, I want a one-story house and all the trimmings, then that's what we're going to get. But what if it was a two-story house that was available for us? What if there was more or better? What if the job that we've asked for is even greater than that? But when we say, this is what it looks like, but if we say, this or better, Lord, angels, universe, whatever words you want to use, then we're opening that door to better and bigger opportunities that we didn't know existed at the time we asked.
Because if you knew all the opportunities existed, would you take it or would you take the bare minimum?
More than likely, the average, the middle.
Go in the middle.
Yeah.
It's more
When
than what
when
I
we
asked for, but I don't want to feel stingy in taking the whole thing
yeah,
when it's given to me.
or greedy. I mean, it's very, and there's certain words we have to take out of our vocabulary. Bragging is one of the most debilitating words I've heard. And to me, the word bragging, let's say, for instance, I say something about an achievement that one of my children have done. You go, oh, there she goes bragging again. Now, all I'm doing is telling you a fact of something that actually happened. How that makes you feel is the words that you will put on it. And so, therefore, I have to lower what's occurring to make you feel a bit better. Brag is it greed. I can't be greedy. Well, do you know there's enough money on this earth plane to make every man, woman, and child a millionaire many times over? The universe is just waiting for us to ask for that. Now, I think what you're thinking, that you have a story about that.
I do have a story about that, Miss Barb. You sneaky, sneaky, sneaky. So this just happened. Today is Monday, a week ago Friday. I had gone to pick up some medicines with a girlfriend, and we were driving home, and we're having the money and financial conversations that you typically have. And we all, I'm not one who ever feels like there's not enough money, because even if there's a penny on the ground, I'm going to pick it up. That was a gift to me. I might have had 99 cents and now I have $1 for that one penny. So we're driving, and I said, wouldn't it be great if you're just outside walking along and the universe says, here, Here's $100 for you. And there it was. And I think most of us would be like, well, if I found $100, I would do the right thing and I would turn it in and I would this and I would that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a gift from the universe. If there was $100 there and it was gifted to you, do you accept it? So that same evening, Friday evening, my girlfriend and I are downtown. And as I'm walking, I notice this roll of money on the ground. And I look at it and I kick it with my foot, but I don't pick it up. And she says, aren't you going to get that gift from the universe? Because we just had this conversation. And I'm like, it's not real. Somebody's probably done something with this dollar that I don't even want to imagine or think about. I'm not picking that up. So she picks it up and she wipes it off and she hands it to me. And she says, this is yours. Open it. And Barb, when we first found it, there was almost like a little ribbon, literally a silver ribbon around it. And I thought, okay. So I get back to my car and I take the ribbon off and I open it up. And wouldn't you know, it is an actual $20 bill from Guatemala. I've never been to Guatemala, but the universe doesn't know that. And the universe doesn't know the difference between this $20 that it left for me and that $100 that I jokingly said.
Yeah.
And so this is my most recent proof of being intentional with your words.
Yeah.
And watching manifestation come to life. And when it does come, be flexible to open and receive. Because I could have just walked by and not picked that up, or my friend not picked it up and been like, man, I never find money. Well, the universe says, Jennifer, I left it for you and you never collected it. And how many times has that happened to us in life? We've asked for something and it's shown up, maybe not to the image that we had. And because it didn't meet our image, we walked away. So the first thing I did after opening this and realizing what I was holding was I said, thank you. Thank you. Because I was heard and my gift was returned.
Really, really important in my awareness is if you say thank you, we all want to be thanked for the goodness that we do for someone. Whether we say we want to be thanked or not, because in the thanking, it's an acknowledgement and a validation of what somebody's done for us. Now, the universe is no different. Because when we say thank you to the universe, thank you for the $20 or whatever it is, the universe goes, he's recognized. They know where that's come from. Now it makes me happy. I will just give more and more of it. More and more.
And when you're open to receive that more and more, Barb, it's going to come more and more
And
and
more.
more.
Absolutely. And one of the teachings that I had very early is if you we don't have pennies over here anymore, but we have well, we don't even have 5 cents anymore. But remember, going back in time, we had 5 cents, and my teacher Crystal said, if you walk away from 5 cents on the ground. Remember, the universe doesn't understand the difference between 5 cents and $1,000,000. If you walk away from and walk over that 5 cent piece as if it's not important, they'll go, oh, you don't want that, you don't want the big stuff either. And so you don't get it. So when you acknowledge the small, the bigger can come in. And that's just the way it works. Can I tell you a little story about money that I had?
Please.
In Australia, I used to go to what's called bingo. And I used to go through the day, but I found out, and I said to my hubby one day, how about we go to a Friday night bingo? And so we went there, and it's a Friday now. Now, the last hand, the last game and the last hand on a Friday night, the prize of bingo is $10,000. I said to Dennis, that sounds like a bloody good amount.
Mhm.
Huh. What are the odds? See, there's only 52 weeks in a year. So I wonder what the odds. Now we sat down and there was these two ladies in front of us, and you know how you just get talking, and it's half time. And I said, "Oh, there's a $10,000 draw." She said, "Yeah, about 6 weeks ago we won it."
Oh.
And I go, "Really?" And she'd had a photocopy and she showed it to me, right? I go, "Oh, well, that's a sign. So it can happen. I've met somebody it did happen to. It's not a fantasy." So I went home and I said, "Do you know, Jen, that was really interesting. I wonder if we could win it. Wouldn't that be a hoot? Wouldn't that be a hoot?" Huh. So it was a whole pile of synchronicities that happened. I got there late. Dennis was on time. I'd been working. I got there late. And my books were not playing the game properly. And at the half time, you're allowed to go and exchange for another half a book. So I said to Dennis, "Why don't you go and see if you can get another set of books for me, and I'll just do those." And so all this synchronicity, and you've got no idea how hard it is for spirit to get everything in alignment for 1 second in time. So anyway, I'm last hand, and it's like I got 79 here, and I mean, how many times do you get the last number not in? God, every bloody week. And I'm there, and I go 79. I go, Dennis looked at me, looked down. I said, "I know." Well, it was the most, they took me over, they gave me a special pen, they gave me the check. We went, it was so surreal. We went and got a bottle of Moet champagne, I will tell you that. And but the whole thing was so surreal. It was like another dimension. So when all that died down, I said to Den, that was so surreal. But I'd love to have the experience again where I was fully present with the whole thing, you know? And I said, "If we could win it once, can we win it twice, do you think?" He goes, "Well, probably not." And I go, "Well, I'm not sure why we can't." So it was about maybe 6 months, 7 months later, number 54 called up. We go. I said to him, "Well, if you could do it once, can't you do it twice?" I was fully present that night. I was absolutely fully present. Those two people, those two women, we've become very, very friendly with, and they were a little bit shitty because, they had to share, and this is my second, and Dennis is just looking at me. So then it was just beautiful, life changing. So it was about 12 months later, I kept saying to Den, "Ah, I wonder if we could get a trifecta. What are the odds?" He said, "Very little, very minimum." I go, "Oh, well, that's okay." Anyway, I had just received a check from a solicitor from my mother's inheritance. My mother had passed over the inheritance. So, we were pretty out there flying. We bought a bed, and Dennis wanted to stay home and put it up. So off I shot, and I come home, and he goes, "Well, did you win anything?" And I said, "Yeah, I got $60. It covered my books for the night." He said, "Oh, that's pretty good." He said, "Oh, that's good. It didn't cost anything." And I said to him, "Oh, there was two people who won it tonight, so they had to share." And he goes, "Oh, that's good that there was two." And I pulled out the check and I said, "One was me." I said, it is possible to do a trifecta. I was very deliberate in my thinking about manifesting through this opportunity. And and I said to him, I think the reason I got half of it, because it's lovely to share, is I'd already been paid this week a check from the solicitor. So I didn't need the full amount. I could share that. And so that was the deliberate manifesting that I've done that was just so huge.
But Barb, I want to draw your attention to something that you said a few times through there, and it's a story I'll share with you now. You said, I wonder, not can it. I wonder. And keeping that wonder leaves us open for acceptance and for play and for flexibility. And what you've done with that trifecta manifestation is astronomical. That is being fully intentional. Yes, I'm diving in. How many times have we said to ourselves, well, I wonder, and then a small thing happens? That person you were thinking of is there. That book you were missing all of a sudden appears again, because that sense of wonder, that sense of let go. And this happened to me in 1 week. I had 3 things happen, and one of them, everything started on a Monday, and we all dread Mondays for some
Yeah.
reason. I don't know why. It's another day of the week, but whatever. We have the Monday blues or whatever. So this Monday, I'm actually on a virtual call with a client. She's speaking to me, and I keep hearing this over and over and over in my mind: leadership gold, leadership gold, leadership gold. And I thought, what is this? It has nothing to do with what she and I are talking about. So right here, I grab a pen and I just write down leadership gold, because it's like this voice is screaming at me, don't forget this. So I write it and I put a question mark with it. And I'm like, am I supposed to write a training? What am I supposed to do with this? So I go on, I write it down. That day, I get an email from a girlfriend I had met at a networking event. And this event is once a month. And she says, hey, I hope to see you at this month's event. Let's sit together if we're both there. Okay, great. I haven't got the login information yet to register for the event, but I'll be on the lookout for it. Later that day, the event registration comes. And so I click to RSVP. The title of our guest speaker this month was whatever her name was. I can't remember now. But the title of her topic of discussion, leadership gold.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, I'm listening. So this same day, I'm just like, I have to go to this meeting now, because
Yeah.
I'm supposed to meet someone. I'm supposed to hear something. Something is calling my attention there. That's a small manifestation, right? I listened and I put it down. But same thing. I said the words that you said. I wonder. And I've got no problem with my age. I'm 44. I'll be 45 in a few months. And so it's been a long time since I was a 15-year-old girl going to
Yeah.
junior high. But there was a girl that I went to junior high with that was the most lovely girl. And I saw her maybe 10 or 12 years ago. We both ended up at a baby shower together. And I remember her first name, but I could not for the life of me remember her last name. So I had no way to look her up on social media, because I didn't even know where to begin. I couldn't even remember a maiden name. So all I said was, I wonder where she is. I hope wherever she is, she's doing well. Now, this is that same Monday that I get about the leadership gold. I go to bed. Tuesday comes. Here comes Wednesday. I open Facebook that day, and I have a Facebook friend request from her. And I immediately pull up my messages. You're not going to believe this, Barb. And I said, "Oh my goodness, I was just thinking of you 2 days ago. I'm so glad you found me and connected." How she knew me or remembered a name, I don't know, and it's not for me to know. But those are small manifestations. I wondered about her, and the universe is here. Here she is.
These are the signs that we have to look for. Like just when we started this, we have Jennifer and I have a joint friend. Her name is Portia Booker. Just as we started recording this, and I was in the introduction, I had a little message at the bottom of my Facebook on my computer saying that she'd just sent a message. And we had just been talking to her about her. So it's really important. One of the things that I was taught decades ago was to look for signs. And the signs can be large. I can remember I was driving from Rotorua up to Tauranga, and there's a really long straight road. Then you do a left-hand turn, and it's a long straight road to go there. And I was thinking about, am I on the right track? Am I on the right road? What I'm planning on doing. Well, a truck, maybe a 2-ton truck, came down, a moving van. It wasn't a big one. And it had a sign on the top said, Hayward, removalist. Well, my surname is Hayward. Nothing to do with me, but I asked if I was on the right road, and the truck came down with my name on it. That is the universe telling me that I'm on the right road. I'm going the right direction. These are things that we need to look at. Now, one of the things that Florence Scovel Shing talks about in The Game of Life, her first book, was she talks about indicators. Now, often, and she talks about Captain Cook discovering new shores. And she talks about in that book that we ask for something from the universe. And it's this shape, it's this color, and it's this big, and it's this wide. And it does this, and the function is that. And then we get something that is similar, but sort of not near it, but it's similar. And we go, oh my God, isn't the universe amazing? The universe has given me this, and it's not quite what I asked for, but it's near enough, and I can sort of stretch it and fit it and apply it into what. And she's saying, no, that's the indicator. Now you need to wait for the real thing to come to you. But most of us, exactly what you were saying, most of us are happy to settle for second best. Now we've asked for this, but it didn't come in that package. It's got this, it's second best, it's got a lot of things I want. But they're saying we can get it down to the nth degree. If you have patience and allow us. There was a saying decades ago, impossibilities we can do, miracles take a fraction longer. So if we've got the patience, but to send out our intention, remember, probably not, but right back when they were affirmations, and it's like, why doesn't affirmations work? Is because what we ask for should be out of sight, but not out of reach, just out of sight. Until we can learn to trust the process, until we can learn to stretch it even further and trust that process will work. So out of sight, not out of reach. So when we settle for second best, then we're teaching the universe that we're worthy of the second best. Now, if we could just wait that little longer, then the best will come. Now, many years ago, I sent out an affirmation. And the affirmation back then, Oh, that's where I was going. See, it's statement of intention. We can believe a statement of intention where the out there affirmations don't work, but this is the affirmation I did. Statement of intention. Infinite Spirit, clear the way for the perfect divine man to come to me. The man that you have that is divinely mine, the one that is there for me, divinely perfect. Allow him to come quickly with love in a perfect way. Well, I said that three times a day. And then my teacher rang me up and she said, look, I want you, let's go out tonight. There's this band and I want you to meet this guy. You never know what might happen. So I went to her place and she goes, I've changed my mind. I'm not going. I want you to go on your own, introduce, say you're a friend of mine and see what happens. So it was like he was skinny. I've never been out with a skinny person. He wasn't overly tall. He was, balding and very happy. Hadn't met anybody that happy. So anyway, it didn't work out. Nothing happened. And I go, wow, obviously that's not the divine man. It was about 2 months later, long short story, not going there. In walked this guy who's not overly tall, balding, speaks a funny language, and when he giggles and tries to talk, I can't understand a word he says. And he's everything that I've never been out with before as a gentleman. Now, we had our 35th meeting anniversary not long ago. So the first guy was the indicator that the right one was coming for me. Now, I didn't know what the right one looked like, but I knew what I needed out of the right one. But I also trusted the universe knew more than me. Now, was he the perfect man for me? I do not know any other man that I've ever met that would have put up with the work that I've had to do for Spirit over the last 40 years or 35 years that I've been with them. He's been sleeping in the corner while I've been working at 3 o'clock in the morning, and he will wake up to drive me home and then go to work the next day. The things that he's done that's allowed me to serve Spirit because I asked for the perfect divine man. I didn't know what he would look like. And that is also a statement of intention. That is the manifestation.
But it's also listening to your heart and leading from there,
Yeah,
speaking good intentions, and being willing to say, okay, universe, I trust that Dennis is my guy.
yeah.
He
And
doesn't look like what I thought.
yeah, can I
Man,
tell
he
you, can I tell you the truth of what you're saying? For the first 12 months of being with Dennis, like I met him, I went out with him on August the 18th, and he moved into my house on September the 16th.
mm,
Okay. Far too much. We were told we were crazy. But can I tell you the truth of the matter was, it was also trusting, but it was also saying, God, don't you love me anymore? Look at him. He giggles. I can't understand a word that he says. He's skinny. Don't you love me anymore, Lord? But he was the perfect divine man. I had to accept the perfect divine man. But the first one was the indicator that this is possible. So
I
where
tease
else?
Barb that there's a 7 to 8 year age difference between us given the time of year. And he really is much like your husband. He's there supporting me with everything I'm doing, every wild idea. He's the first to promote me and stand behind me and just give me that love and comfort. And we dated before, broke up for a little bit, and then got back together. And so we just celebrated our 11th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
So, and we still have that newness feeling to us, that love, that it's you still get the giggles and all those things, but I tease him. And I'm like, why didn't you find me sooner in life? Why didn't you come around? And he was like, Jennifer, when I was a senior graduating high school, you were in the third grade. We would have gotten some trouble. And so I'm like, yeah, probably. But really, Barb, when you talk about stepping back and, you know, I look at my husband and it's the same thing. He's not that dark man with the dark hair, but he's perfect for me. The blue eyes and the silver hair, and he's 6'4" and he's genuine. And that speaks more to me than anything is his true heart. He's going to show up as he is in his full strength.
Yeah.
And so when we're talking about what we're manifesting, we have to realize that not everything comes packaged the way we think it should. And we need to be
Absolutely.
open. You talked about the patience, and we've all heard that little adage or that story about learning patience and manifestations. And well, I gave you this scenario and you got frustrated with it when you should have been learning patience. And that
Yeah.
patience is a virtue. We've heard that before, and it's absolutely true. Be kind to yourself during that pause period. Be quiet. What can you learn? Maybe it's not the time for me to date if I'm looking for that life partner. Maybe it's the time for me to self love and fill my cup up with love first, because I don't need anybody else to fill that cup for me. I need them to bring a slice of cake to make it even sweeter.
That. I
Oh,
absolutely love that. The other area that I'd like to discuss with you, that's awesome. Can I tell you? I don't need somebody to make me a cup of tea, but I need them to bring the cake to make it sweeter. Do you know, Dennis and I been married 32 years and we've been together 35. I still absolutely look forward to him coming home from work. Still works, still goes out to work. I love having him home. I love him going to work and I love him coming home. And I think that I thought I've just had, that could have been an arranged marriage between Dennis and I. The universe arranged it. Hmm. Because I tell you, um, the people I chose never lasted, but this one has. So maybe that type of universal arranged marriage is not a bad thing.
not a bad thing.
Not a
You
bad
know,
thing.
and I love how you're talking about looking at things not a bad thing. And this just brought up a memory for me, if I may share with you. I know we're talking about manifestation and these things,
Doesn't
but
matter. It's all the same.
life hits us with some shit, doesn't it?
Yep.
We get some awful things that go on
Yep.
in our lives. And I've always been close to my grandmother and my great grandmothers before their passing. And my great grandmother lost her youngest child in an accident and buried him just before his 21st birthday. And this is back in 1977, June of 1977. And many years later, actually not many, 9 years later, 1986, she lost her husband, my great grandfather. So there she goes, buries her youngest child and her husband. And so at the time of the burials, they had bought 3 plots. And so she would go out and take care of the gravesite, put the flowers out, honor them the way she chose to. And she shows up one day and someone is buried in her space. Now, can you imagine going to your cemetery plot and there lies someone else? And so, first thing she does is she gets on the phone with the cemetery sexton and was like, I believe there's been a mistake. Now, she had every right to be frustrated and upset, but she didn't. She took that calm, cool, let that patience come in and shine. And she said, I believe there's been a mistake. Well, Miss Miller, and she said, well, somebody's in my spot. And so, of course, the cemetery has to come out, and sure enough, there in her plot is someone who's buried. And so we're like, "Well, Granny, what are you going to do? Are you going to?" And she was like, "No, it's fine. He was just warming it up for me." And I thought, what an attitude to have about it, that, it was just an accident.
Yeah.
It's all right. But do you know, my children's father, that was some of his family that was buried in her spot.
My
Isn't that
goodness.
two families coming together through life and death?
And this is the exquisiteness of the universe. The
Yeah.
absolute, you couldn't organize that.
Mm.
You couldn't organize that. See, one of the things when I talk about the law of attraction, when I first started on this journey, I wanted everything in 3 weeks. So why
Mm.
hasn't it happened? And this is the patience thing that we've been talking about. And I remember an issue happened, and I say to people, be patient with the universe. Possibilities we can do, miracles take a fraction longer. Now, for one of the things that I needed to happen, that the universe brought back to me, took 43 years. And I say to people, you don't have to wait that long. I had to wait 43 years. And that was just the most miraculous thing
But we
that,
must be willing to not give up.
and I never, well, I don't know. I really don't know if I did give up or I just put it back on the wish list because it was so long. How do you keep seeing it? I just thought about it and thought about if it happened, what would it feel like?
Mm,
And I would go into that, what would it feel like? It would feel warm.
yes.
I would get a hug. The hug would be warm. And the hug that I would get from this person would be taller than me.
Mm,
Well, everything is taller than me, can I tell you? So that was a certainty. But the hug would come from a tall person. And I just imagined if that person ever came to me, what would it feel like? And I kept feeling the feeling. And it may have only been every couple of months or so. But 43 years for that to unfold or for that wish from the deepest part of my soul to the manifestation. And there was another one. I always wanted to work in America. I always wanted to work in since I can never remember. And I went over in 20, God, I can't even remember what year. It was a long time ago. 2003, I think it was. And I was going to a conference as a participant to the conference. And I get a phone call probably about 3 weeks before the conference from the 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 people I was going to watch the speakers and get to know the people. And they said that they had a speaker pull out, would I mind filling in for them? Now, I'm not a learned person. My university degree comes from the University of Hard Knocks. And these are all professional psychiatrists and all sorts of people. And but that was a wish of mine. I'd sent it out to the universe. I really want to work in America. Now, I didn't get paid or anything, but I did work in America in the most extraordinary ways. So sometimes if you ask what you want, let it go, release it, allow the universe to bring it back in the most divine way. It will be far better than you can imagine.
mm. No expectations.
No. And we do put expectations on it.
Oh, I mean,
Um,
I had to, it didn't happen in 3 weeks.
no,
What's going on? Why isn't this?
it's
But
going to
what sign
happen.
this in those 3 weeks because we were so adamant that it
Yeah.
happened had to happen a certain way.
So, what I'd like to bring up with us is that everything we ask for, we get. Now, I remember years and years and years ago, there was a book called Conversations with God um, by Neil Donald Walsh, and I started to read it, and I will tell you, I couldn't get past the first paragraph. It was
Mhm.
the most stupidest, dumbest book I think I've ever picked up to read. Maybe I read a little bit more than a paragraph, maybe a chapter, but it was just really dumb. And it's like, I'm not going there. Well, it was just after 9/11 happened. My son rings me. My children blackmail me. They do. They emotionally blackmail me all the time. And he said, "Oh, Mum, I found this book and I think you really should read it. It is amazing." And I go, "Absolutely." And he says, conversation, "I'm not reading that shit. Mum, it's a really, really good book." I said, "Look, I've tried to read it. It's just so full of shit. I'm not going there." So he said, "Well, unless you read it, I won't be speaking to you again." See, they know how to do it. So of course now I've got to read it because I do like my son. I like all my sons. And so I read it and it was like the most amazing book I'd ever read. Okay, so the first time I wasn't ready, second time I was. But he talks about in there, he's a man that's homeless, he's on the streets, he had a great job, great marriage, great house, great family, everything going for him. And now he's on the streets as a homeless man. And he says to God, God says, "I am the co-creator of your life. I'm not the judger. I don't rule it. I don't create. We are the co-creators. What you ask for, I will give you. I will co-create with you." And he said to me, he said, "Well, how did I create all this? How did I create being made redundant? And out of that I lost my home and I'm on the streets." He said, "How many mornings did you wake up and say, 'Oh God, I wished I didn't have to go to work today'?" I just co-created your wish. And that to me absolutely stunned me because how many times do we say, "God, I wished I didn't have this illness. God, I wished I didn't have these bills," and we get more of it. I just get money in the bank and then the roof falls in and I've got to use it. And I remember saying that to my son, saying something like that to me. And I said, "Well, maybe the universe knew that the roof was going to happen down the way. So they showed you how to put the money in the bank. And it was for this experience. Because if you can do it once, you can do it twice." See,
And 3
I got the trifecta. I'm the living example of deliberate manifestation. Now, I had
And I
never
want to
heard.
say, Barb, that when you tell that story about reading that book and it was horrible, it wasn't. How many times do we do that in life? And you see this in the political world, and not to go into politics, but you'll see people make a decision based on where they were in the moment. And then times change, situations change, maybe we're
We
forced,
change.
we change. And so our thoughts, our intentions, and the way we process and move forward changes.
Yeah,
Some people will say, "Well, you're a hypocrite because you said this back there and now you're doing this," or "You said you would never and now here you are." I don't really pay attention to that. You hear that a lot. Those are people that need to work through their own manifestation
yeah,
paths, work through their own growth. Because if we can say, "You know what? I did try to read this book and it was garbage. I didn't make it first that past that first chapter or that first paragraph. But you know what? My son means more to me than not having a conversation with him, and if I need to spend the time reading this book, I'm going to do it." Doesn't make me a hypocrite. It just shows that I'm grown enough
yep,
that I can walk with you as you
yeah.
walk with me. And that's manifesting too. Manifesting
Absolutely.
isn't always putting out to get something in return. Sometimes it's to aid someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. There was so much that I learned. What I learned in there for manifestation was that the universe, God, angels, whatever, they're the co-creators. We are not the victims. I'm not the victim of my circumstances. I'm not the victim. My words have created this. Because we went through a hard time not long ago, a couple of years ago, and it was really harsh, very harsh. And I said to Den, how did we manifest this? What were the words we used? What was the beliefs we had about scarcity that allowed scarcity to come in? We co-created this. We just told the universe what we wanted through our thoughts and our words, and all I did was manifest it and gave it to us exactly as we asked for it.
It to me.
Yeah. So it's not just in the good things that we manifest that we need to look at. It's in the things that we don't want in our life. How do we manifest that? It's through the words. Now, another story in the movie Conversations with God. I went from all the books to the movie, and he was doing a signing at a library, and this lady come up to him and said, "How do my daughter, 18? I adopted her, and she died. She died in a car accident when she was 18. How did I manifest that? How did I manifest that?" And I think he's a bit psychic as well, because he said, "Well, didn't you always say that she could go and find her mother when she turned 18? Didn't you always say that to her?" And she said, "Yes." Well, that's what happened. Because you see, her mother had passed over. Her biological mother had passed over. So in the words that we use are so very important. Now, one of the words that I have an absolute horror about, and I tend to correct people because I'm an Aries, I can, with it. And you shouldn't correct people, but it's one word that really I hate, and that's the word little.
Oh, yeah.
I have a little
I believe you
business.
corrected me on that word.
Most likely. Um, because if you keep saying you've got a little business, you'll keep getting a little business, and you'll say, "Why isn't my business growing?" And I'll say, "But you've asked the universe for a little business. All they've done is give it to you. All they've done is give it to you."
So the word you did with me, I talked to you about I have a women's group and I held a retreat. It was just a little 1 day retreat. And that is where you tagged me, was with that little. I'll never forget that conversation. So I want to share with you now, Barb, that that is no longer part of my vocabulary. And in fact, I don't believe you even know this. Not many do. So I'm going to give you a drop about 3 days before it's going public here. A girlfriend and I have co-created, co-founded together a full retreat business. So it's amazing what happens when you take words out. You listen to those who really want to teach and want you to grow and succeed. Life takes off.
Well,
So it went from what I thought was something just minuscule to a full retreat business.
and you co-created that.
Yes, my best girlfriend Connie Walton,
Yeah.
and the name of it is Sacred Utori Collective. And
So
so it's
I'm going to put your contact details, of course, up. So anybody, please, please, in America, go to it. This is one lady that is just purely working from heart and spirit. You could feel it from her. Me, I'm just bolshy and I'm out there and I'm just a little bit arrogant and egotistical and all those airy things, being an Australian woman. Doesn't make me less spiritual. It just doesn't make me obviously spiritual. This lady is not just obviously spiritual. She is just so authentically who she is. Her energy, her knowledge, Jennifer, you are of the eons, and I know I've said that to you before. I've said it to you privately, and now I've said it publicly. Watch our words. Watch the
What
words that we say, and our words come from our thinking. My teacher mega years ago said to me, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
you're right.
Yeah. And it just comes from that. The other thing that I'd like to just share before we go is that when we ask for something, you know, I'd really love I'd really love a house bus.
That you're saying this because Miss Barb, you saw me just shuffling just here, and we've got the lovers card.
Oh,
So I love that you are speaking love.
how amazing. And, I really love a house bus. And we all say, I'd really love a holiday. I'd really love this trip. I'd really love that job. But you see, the universe is listening to every word we say. It's also heard the word but.
And it didn't hear
And the
anything.
moment you say but, it's gone because you're telling the universe why you can't have it now. I can remember saying to my youngest son, who told me to read this book, he was about 16, and I said, if you know the why, the how will take care of itself.
Mm.
Tell the universe and wait for it to come to you. Let it manifest.
Yes.
But believe all things are possible because they actually are.
Yes.
Your retreats, all the things, your Reiki. And by the way, Miss Jennifer here is one of the most powerful Reiki healers. And I've been in this trade for over 40 years. And I have met the best. I've met hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of spiritual workers in my time, if not more. And I'm not silly. There's an expression, I'm not silly, it's just the way they dress me. Okay. And the story behind that. And it's a very and this is controversial what I'm going to say. And it's an observation, not a judgment. I very rarely meet somebody true to the word of who they are. Very rarely. Now, I was going through an issue, a health issue. Jennifer said, in Oklahoma, I'm in Gisborne, New Zealand, I'll send you some Reiki. And I felt the Reiki. It was more than worked. It more than worked. It was one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had spiritually. And I've never felt that from anybody else that's ever sent me anything. I'm not saying they haven't done a good job. I'm just saying this lady is the most powerful worker that I have met in probably 20 to 25 years. Now, if you think I'm thinking highly of her, absolutely. But I'm not talking bullshit. I don't talk bullshit. I talk truth. And this lady here is one of the most powerful spiritual workers that she's up amongst the top 3 of that I've met ever. And I don't say that lightly. And so everything that you manifest comes from your thought, comes from your word, also comes from your belief and your love. Change your word, change your world. That's all it takes. Jennifer took one word out of her vocabulary, and now that world is opening up into a degree that she won't understand yet.
No, because this is just the tip. But we're open to flipping that iceberg and seeing what's under.
And it's, when you do that, there's a whole lot of hidden things, hidden miracles waiting for you to find them.
All the treasures. All
All
the
the
treasures.
treasures. Jennifer, thank you so much for today. I hope I haven't spoken too much, but I tend to. We all know I do that.
You.
Your wisdom is far beyond your age. As I say, you're more than just an old soul. I hate those bloody expressions. I'm an old soul. It's like, give me the evidence.
Right.
Um, you are from the eons, and I commend you for sticking to your truth, for being your absolute authentic self, because I'm not sure you would know how to be anything else but.
I couldn't. I couldn't. I tell my girlfriend here with me, I can't lie. I physically cannot lie. I just can't do it. You'll see it on me. I don't feel it. And I'm like, ah. And even whether it's just a joke. So I am true to who I am through and through, top to bottom. Now, that doesn't mean things aren't hard for me. I can't stand breaking hearts or delivering hard news because I want that camaraderie and that loving relationship through everything. Um, and that's not always possible. And so that can be a bit of a challenge when you're very authentic and very true because I can see the good in the person in front of me, but getting them to hold that mirror and seeing it back is hard sometimes.
Thank you so much. I'm having you on again, and that is absolutely. So, thank you out there. Thank you for being here with us. I hope you've come to the end. And if you have watched us right to the end, could you leave a comment and leave a heart? And just let me know that you actually watched us right through. And until next time, be kind, be safe, and don't forget to breathe and stay rooted in your own light. Good night, guys.